Ladies, if you are dating or are in a courtship, I need for you to pause, pump your brakes. If you are considering entering into a courtship or dating someone, hold your thoughts, ladies, until you watch this video. Well, hello, ladies. Welcome to my channel. It is Cynthia with the Waiting Room Life, and it is here that I am showing frustrated Christian single women how to use biblical strategies to shorten their wait, train for a marriage that will last while attracting their Boaz. So today is going to be a short video. I wanted to chat with you ladies about three things that I would suggest that you do before pursuing marriage, right? So I thought about what was very impactful that I did when when I was a single and I had really come to a point where I really wanted to be serious about positioning myself to be married, right? And to be chosen. So when I really decided that I really wanted to do some things differently, right? Like I didn't want to approach dating per se or a courtship the same way that I did when I was in the world, right? I wanted something different. So before I even put myself out there, when I really, after I kind of went through some things and, suffered some things, I wanted to really be serious about it and I wanted things to be different. So one day I remember sitting down and really asking myself three questions. And the same three questions that I asked myself, I want to ask you ladies, and I want you to really consider it. I want you to really think about these questions. And then if you determine, I might need to make some adjustments in that area. I want you to put in the comments, what adjustments do you think that you need to make to really to position yourself, right? To really be married, but or really to position yourself before you pursue a marriage relationship or even a courtship. So question number one, is the life that you are inviting someone into conducive to a happy, healthy, and long-lasting marriage? Now think about that. Is your life situation in its entirety a situation where you would be inviting a Boaz into and your life will create a happy, long, healthy relationship? And see, and the reason why that's important is because I remember, even for myself, the one thing that I determined was God ain't a God of drama, right? The Bible says that God only gives those good and perfect gifts. Those gifts come from him. And so it was a time my life was not what it needed to be. I didn't know how to cook. I was nasty. Let me tell you what I mean. I didn't keep a clean house. I was junky. And I remember somebody even telling me that even if a man is not the tidiest of persons, of a person, they like a clean house. I didn't keep a clean house. I remember one day I had to give somebody a ride someplace on my job. My car was so towed up on the inside. And and to this day, I'll never forget this. They got in my car and I literally had trash everywhere. I would eat my car, throw it in the back. I mean, stuff all over the floor. And they got in my car and I mean, they had a look of like yuck on their face. And I remember, I'll never forget this statement. They said, I hope your house don't look like this. Well, guess what? My house did kind of look like that. So when you take inventory of whether or not the life that you're inviting someone into to share with you, is it conducive to a happy, that will it yield a happy marriage? Will it yield a healthy marriage? Will it yield a situation where the marriage will have longevity to it? I remember I was still dealing with harsh words. I was very touchy. easily offended. I just had some things in my life going on. Like I was in school, so I was working full time. I was going to school full time, so I really didn't have a lot of time. So that's something to consider. Like, is this really the opportune moment for you to really enter into a courtship or a dating situation where you can really give it your full attention? And if it's going to lead to some, to marriage, which hopefully, that's the goal, would it be a situation where you would have the marriage that you desire to have? Okay. So, and remember, I want you to leave your comments. Let me know what you think about your situation as far as question number one. Number two, have you properly trained for a marriage? Honey, I feel like I trained for years for the wedding. I mean, in faith, I had the book. I had, so the book, like my wedding vision book. I had the confessions. Because I'm a visual person. So like when I get in faith, I have to do like these tangible things, right? So I would, subscribe to different websites, as it relates to wedding dresses and bridesmaids dresses. And, I just had this big a vision of how I wanted my wedding to be, and the flower girl dresses and the cake and the venues. And for years, I mean, I planned for my wedding. But how often do we plan for the marriage? How often do we plan to be a suitable wife that God would present us to our Boaz? So I really would want to encourage you to think about that. Versus, have you been, visualizing and just dreaming about the wedding? But what about the marriage? And a lot of times that's where we fall short. We show up half baked. We show up unprepared. Now, we could show up and prepared to be the girlfriend, but I can promise you, showing up to be the wife, that's on a whole nother level. And so I would really encourage you to train to to be a wife. Whether that is you coming up under the tutelage of someone who is married. And I mean, how can you get something from somebody if they're not where you want to be? And so it's not that, you can't get something from a single person, but you typically want to yoke up with someone who is where you want to be, or yoke up with someone, it's like anything else. Like if I go to a personal trainer because I want to tone up all the jiggle and the wiggle that I got going on, I'm not trying to hook up with somebody who jiggling and wiggling like me. I want to look to the person who looks like they have already defined the process, mastered the process. They're where I want to be. So I want to hear what it is that you have to say, because you got the abs and the back and the arms. That's what I want. You've trained for that. You've developed to look like that. That's what I want. So so think of it in those terms. So not only just somebody who's married, but you want to come up under the tutelage maybe of a wife who has a healthy marriage, who has a marriage that has longevity. Okay. So number one is the life that you are inviting someone into conducive to a happy, healthy, and long-lasting marriage? Number two, have you trained for the role of being a wife? And then number three, have you counted the cost of being married? Now, here in Luke, the 15th chapter, verse 28, it says, "For which of you have intending to build a tower? Which of you intending to build a tower doesn't first sit down and count the cost to see whether or not you have enough to finish?" I just kind of paraphrase that. And that is Luke the 15th chapter, verse 28. So it says, who of you have not intending, like on purpose, like this is your intent to build a tower, doesn't first sit down to count the cost of building that tower to see whether or not you have enough to complete the tower? So have you counted the cost of what it really means to be married? Now, I can tell you, for me, I had a lot of fantasy about being married. And I know it might sound ridiculous, but honey, on this channel, you're going to find some honesty. I had just like this idea of being married. And like, honey, in my mind's eye, me and my husband didn't argue. We had swooning love for each other all the time. Things were just picture perfect. And I mean, it was just wonderful. Okay. Until I got married and the realization of being married really set in. And even though, and I have to honestly say that there came a period in my life where I literally prepared for marriage, not prepared for a wedding. There were specific things that I did in my life in preparation for Boaz. So, but beyond that, you have to determine, are you mature enough? Have you counted the cost of not just being married, but counted the cost of having a successful marriage, right? Like, what is it going to cost you? Your time, your attention, your long suffering, your silence. Sometimes you just got to close your mouth. Your humility, humbling yourself in situations. Um, there might be situations where the marriage will not be equal. What do I mean by that? It's not like you're going to enter into a marriage where, you all are equally carrying the burden of maybe the responsibility that, you all have going on within that marriage union. Have you counted the cost? And if you haven't, I suggest you count the cost, because while I will have been married for almost 17 years, it will actually be 17 years in November of this year, 2021. We have a great marriage. As a matter of fact, he and I just came off of our little date. We both took off and we kind of hung out with each other today before he has to go pick up baby girl from school. But we have a great marriage. But what I can promise you is we have a great marriage on purpose. So again, on this channel, I want to show those ladies who are frustrated, want to be married, trying to figure it out, is here that I'm going to show you how to use biblical principles to shorten your wait, train for a marriage, train for a marriage that will last, and attract your Boaz. So I thank you. I want to let me know what you think. Leave some comments as to whether or not you think that you are firing on all three cylinders, you got it together, or, which of the three do you think that you might need to take more of an evaluation? You might need to do a little more work. Don't forget, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Like I've said before, I'm showing up every Thursday. Please also let me know, is there any content that you would like for me to create? Do you have any questions? Leave them in the comments and I will assure you that I will respond, because again, this channel is for you. Well, thank you, ladies, and you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you on the next video.